welcome to episode 123 of BigRedBarel Geek Speak, a place for all your nerdy needs on BigRedBarel.com. My name is Alex, I'm a self-appointed Baroness of Butts. I'm also the host for this episode. Joining me, my other half for this podcast, she's John the Jubilant Juggernaut of Joe.
Hello.
Hello, Joe.
Alright.
Hi. Guys, we are unfortunately down a Lauren. Blamed the gods of the internet that decided not to work in her place today's morning. We waited, we tried, we prayed. Is there a name for the god of internet?
I don't know. Maybe they should, like, the Lord BT or whatever. Whatever his name would be, yeah. Everyone needs to make offerings to the Lord BT and fix the internets.
Yes. So that didn't work out. So unfortunately there's only two of us, and for that we apologize, but we will try to do better next time. Especially since I'll leave a little tease here, just in case. Some interesting things are coming up. I know. Maybe interesting mostly for me, but I'm sure some other people... Well, anyway, stop over-teasing your tease, Alex.
Let it go. It's cool.
Let it go.
It worked.
Let it go. Let's not talk about Frozen again, though.
No, God, I still haven't watched it. Can't be bothered.
Well, anyway, we're talking about Frozen. Anyway,
yeah.
Let's talk about Time Waster of the Week. This week, I put a little video from Mark Kermode, and particularly his Uncut series, where he just talks about his opinions on a couple of things. They're short, about 5-6 minute videos, and the recent one that I think was just released today as a day while recording, called Panther Hunting. It's about this Facebook group that has now been deleted, but they solemnly believed that all critics were paid by Marvel to say how great the Marvel movies are and how crap DC movies are. And there was associated bigotry, what am I looking for?
I don't know.
Sexism and racism, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Their plan was to come on Rotten Tomatoes, and they've already sort of tried that with The Force Awakens. Not The Force Awakens, with The Last Jedi. And they were gonna... Guys, it's in the morning, I'm 1.5 cup of coffee's in, it's all a bit weird. Anyway, they tried to do this with The Last Jedi to an extent, and they were planning to do the same with Black Panther, which is coming imminently.
Apparently it's so good, like the early responses are really, really positive, so I am excited.
Yeah, so am I, actually. Yeah.
It looks ace from what I've seen so far. Oh.
Anyway, the good news from that video is that group no longer exists, at least in Facebook, in the format they used to exist, and that apparently Rotten Tomatoes are promised to sort of block the bigoted users from access to the website as much as they can, although the monitoring and to what extent can they actually, you know, how much manpower they can dedicate to this cause, I'm not entirely sure, but that is the plan.
Yeah, what was kind of interesting, like I watched this video this morning, actually, like funnily enough, I've been a long-time subscriber to Mark Kermode. I think he's still the best critic in the country. But yeah, his kind of take on this was mostly not just about that, but also about aggregator review sites generally.
Yeah.
And how much of a service they actually, like how good are they and what's, you know, is it even worth looking at them sort of thing. And yeah, I kind of like sit on the fence, right? I like user reviews, I completely ignore on aggregator sites because they're almost always coloured with personal bias, whereas an actual professional critic, they're approaching it with a critic's perspective and a trained perspective. This is for games and movies and all these kind of things. So like an actual professional critic, I'm going to trust a whole lot more than some random user on Rotten Tomatoes who's just like, I hate this film because it's got this guy in it and I don't like that guy because of the colour of his skin. Blah. You know, no, I don't even look at those. So yeah, it's an interesting little video, definitely worth a watch.
I mean, it's an interesting thing that is trying to replicate, those type of aggregates are trying to replicate the feeling of you going and asking your friends.
Yes,
but obviously that's not exactly how it works. And even if you at least follow on Twitter the Amazon reviews and you can see what people give 1 star the movies for, which is hilarious, but also it's kind of sad. And you can see why you maybe shouldn't be putting too much stock in what Rotten Tomatoes says and what other stuff like that
Definitely
say.
Not. The random opinions of random strangers on the internet are not to be trusted in almost all cases.
But yeah, I will leave the link to this video in the description below, and people feel free to subscribe to...
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, definitely subscribe. He's done a lot of interesting videos. And the thing that's really great about Mark Kermode is he's not like a sniffy critic, because he appreciates a good genre film as much as like a serious Oscar contender type film. So he has long time talked about his favourite film of all time being The Exorcist, and he's a big horror fan. So a lot of his little think piece videos are really, really interesting because he's not like what you would imagine a traditional critic to be. He's actually really kind of quite open-minded. So yeah, definitely check out his channel.
It's funny thing, the thing that made me respect him the most is that he sort of likes the movies that I absolutely hate, and that are kind of popular to hate nowadays. But why I got respect is because to me, it's so easy to say, oh, this is rubbish because everyone's rubbish because this is a teen movie or whatever.
Yeah.
But he actually gave the reasons behind why he liked it. And I thought that makes sense. So he's talking about Twilight, actually.
Yes,
and that he quite enjoyed all of the movies in the series. And while I don't find them worth a damn watchable completely, the fact that kind of the allegories, I'm not even actually going to repeat what he said because I think it's worth spending your time going and listening to his reviews and him explaining what he found in them that appealed to him, and he will put it way better than I could ever do.
Yeah.
And his explanation of it as well, it made me really respect his opinion because this is not something I entirely agree with, and I don't think those movies are great, but here's a completely different perspective that is totally justified in a very logical, critical way, and that is actually what I want from my critic. I don't want them to agree with me 100%.
Definitely.
I want them to have an opinion that they can completely back up and justify, so when I listen to them, that is the kind of approach that I want to make as well.
Yes, I fully agree, and that's, one thing. Another thing I really like about Mark Kermode is he approaches it with a sense of humour. Like, he obviously massively respects the cinema art form as an art form, but he's not afraid to kind of actually have a humorous approach with it in terms of not taking it all super seriously all the time, a la like Peter Bradshaw or something. So yeah, he's definitely one of the best critics in the country, and his channel is really worth watching. Yes.
There you go. So check it out. Okay, let's go into the news. Okay, and the first news.
It's the news!
Oh, God. Oh, news. News is a funny word. Anyway, so Fantastic Beasts 2, The Crimes of Grindelwald, I believe it's called, won't explicitly address Dumbledore's sexuality. This is a funny one. So Entertainment Weekly, they interviewed director David Yates, and David Yates is sort of, I guess, the main Harry Potter franchise director. He directed all the last movies. He directed the previous Fantastic Beasts, which I loved. And he's going to be going forward. I don't know if he's going to direct the remaining 5 movies, but he's definitely directing The Crimes of Grindelwald. And he said that it won't explicitly Dumbledore's same-sex relationship. He said, I think all fans are aware of that. He had a very intense relationship with Grindelwald when they were young. They fell in love with each other's ideas and ideology and each other. Now, the interesting part about it is that fans went outraged, went completely bananas. I don't mean bananas in any kind of downgrading way. And obviously, when questions about Harry Potter world come to pass, they all started messaging J.K. Rowling on Twitter. And she got a little bit upset. A, because she wasn't in this interview. B, because no one's really read the script. And C, because people were making sort of assumptions based on one line.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things to say about that. I mean, a lot of people criticized her for very brash response. I don't know if I've posted the link to her tweet. I don't know what you think about it. Do you think it was too harsh?
Yeah, no, I think she's on the money, really. I mean, yeah, maybe we'll put the link in the show notes and stuff so people can see. But yeah, I think she's quite right. Like, to get loads of angry internet idiots messaging you because of an interview that you weren't even involved with a screenplay that you had no input really with.
Well, no, she wrote the screenplay.
Did she?
Yeah, she wrote.
She
wrote the screenplay for the first one, and she's writing this. She wrote the screen for the second one. And I assume she's going to write them going forward.
Is it written? Is it done? I guess, like you say, no one's read it yet. So
I mean, the only thing I know is I saw a couple of pictures from the movie, so I'm going to assume they're shooting it.
Yeah, I guess so. And you kind of need a script to do. Oh yeah, I see. About a screenplay I wrote.
To do that.
Yeah, so none of these people that are complaining have actually read the screenplay. And the thing is, whereas David Yates has said it won't explicitly reference his relationship with Grindelwald, that doesn't mean it isn't going to be a theme for the film or a factor in the film. And nobody knows until we see the film. And yeah, it's just internet idiots being idiots yet again. And they really should shut their yaps and just wait and see.
I mean, there's another angle to come from it, and another angle is because especially in our culture where in our entertainment culture where sort of these things are a little bit hush-hush. There's always a place and a time to show a gay character. And the thing is with Harry Potter, she sort of announced it afterwards, and no one kind of spotted it in the books until there was a big reveal. I don't remember. I think there was like a fan event when fans got to ask her questions, and that was one of her answers that she revealed post finishing the books. And there's a lot of people saying that some of the directors and writers sort of like the appreciation of ticking the boxes, saying, well, this character is actually gay. It's not obvious from the material that the character is gay, but they're actually gay, so please give us this tick of us being this diverse and accepting. And to me, there's two stances on that, and I don't know if you agree, you can tell me afterwards. But one stance is, I think, while it is important because obviously there is a lot of whitewashing, a lot of sort of hiding in the entertainment, it is important to bring those stories up. I also think that sometimes, and I know people don't like this pandering word, but when people bring it too on the nose and it doesn't relate to the story, it feels dishonest to me. Having said that, I never felt like in the original Harry Potter's movies, the fact that Dumbledore was gay was really that important to the overall story, and it wasn't coming to the forefront. However, I also do think that if you're bringing the character back, and if you do have both Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and you're specifically looking at their relationship, not as a flashbacks, not as in the books and the movies, in the Harry Potter books and the Harry Potter movies, it was kind of recollection from the past and Harry gathering different pieces of information from different sources, but looking as it actually happened, I think it is important to show. And the problem is, and take that with a bit of salt, but there was a lot of sort of, especially with the recent movies coming out recently, Tessa Thompson character in Thor Ragnarok is bisexual. People coming out. Kate McKinnon's character in the Ghostbusters recent movie, she was gay. And it's sort of coming back afterwards. And it does feel like maybe if directors had more the same way, maybe it's the studio that's sort of covering it up and doesn't want it to bring to a bigger screen. Again, this is another rumor that apparently there was sort of more juicier screen from the Black Panther that was sort of gayer, I guess you can call it that way, that was cut, is not in the final movie. And here comes the question, is like studios are trying to hide gay people? Is that what it is? I don't know.
I hope not. I mean, I feel like we're getting into a stage now where it's so much more acceptable in terms of like there's absolutely no reason at all why it can't be a major feature of the film, and it should have been like from the very beginning sort of thing. I'm not really making much sense, but basically, I kind of feel like if they don't feature it, as it is a key part of Dumbledore's identity and his relationship with Grindelwald, and I feel like that's actually going to be quite fundamental to the film. It should absolutely be part of the story. Yeah. It's a relationship that's important and it should be mentioned. And also, representation is really important. And so any opportunity like this in a major Hollywood mainstream movie to represent other lifestyles that aren't necessarily blockbuster material should totally be taken. Like, it should absolutely be featured. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like, representation, we're getting there. Like, we're getting more and more good examples like Black Panther coming up, as we've said, and other things. But it should definitely be featured. I want it to be super gay. Like, exactly. I would love it to just, totally, Dumbledore is massively gay and it's brilliant and this is who he is, and that would be awesome. I think it reminds me as well a little bit of when they cast a black actress to play Hermione in the stage play, and everyone kicked off about that, and then J.K. Rowling was like, well, actually, in the book, I never refer to her skin colour at all.
Yeah, she said bushy brown hair. That was her main attribute.
And it's just, everyone has just assumed that she's a white woman, and that speaks volumes about people's kind of just sort of how characters are presented to us in a lot of things. It just speaks volumes that everyone immediately assumed that she was automatically white because that's what their brain said she was. We've got a way to go, but hopefully more and more of these conversations will happen, and more different types of people and relationships and genders and skin tones and everything will be shown in more and more mainstream films.
Great example of people assuming is, and I'm kind of giving away the trick here a little bit, but John Scalzi, one of his books, and I'm not going to tell you which one in case people do read it and they can figure it out for themselves, but there is a character there, and you can read the book, and at no point within the book it ever mentions the character's gender. So the way you read it, you can either imagine it's a man or either a woman, and both of them absolutely fit. And when he did the audiobooks, and that's what confused me at first, because I got the audiobook and I read one of the versions of audiobook, but he had 2 versions, one narrated by male and one narrated by female.
That's interesting.
First one I heard was because of this narrated by a person I knew and a person who I liked the narration of. I listened to him and he was male, and I was like, yeah, that character is a guy. And then out of interest, I got the audiobook with a female voice, and I was sitting and was like, yeah, could be a girl. Yeah, absolutely. Just fits. It doesn't matter. And I think that's just a really clever way to play with your perceptions, to say,
yeah,
what does your brain immediately go to?
And to be honest, like, the people, obviously there's going to be 2 sides of people that complain about this. One side will complain that it's not shown enough, that their relationship isn't shown enough. Then another side of people will complain that it's shown too much, and they'll be like, oh no, we can't show these alternative whatever, which is just a ridiculous word for it, alternative lifestyles to our children. But, you know, I feel like the people that are complaining about a favourite character of theirs being gay or being black or whatever are so unbelievably blinkered to how incredibly privileged they are. Like, when you look at how many films and games out there are created with the straight white man as the hero, and there's just not enough of other entertainment that features different types of people. And so things like this, where we have an opportunity to represent different types of people, should absolutely be a thing, and we need more of it. So I'm super excited for Black Panther. I'm excited for Fantastic Beasts 2. I want it to be super gay. Extreme gay, like Dumbledore is the campest wizard ever. That's the kind of gay I want. I don't think they'll go that route, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, so more representation is definitely a good thing. We need more of it, and yes, hopefully we get more of it as we go on.
Yeah, I have this fantasy that I'm not sure if I stole it from someone. I heard someone say it and I was like, that'd be great. That David Yates just can't tell when someone's playing gay, and actually Jude Law has been playing super gay all this time.
Yeah.
And David Yates is like, yeah, it's not explicitly shown. And Jude Law is like, wait till you see it on the screen,
wait till you
baby.
get it in the edit. And your editor's like, David, I don't want to alarm you, but this is super gay right now. I would love that.
Oh man, I would absolutely love that. That's a dream come true. Jude Law, you can do it. I believe in you.
Jude Law is great. Like, he's had such a resurgence. Like, I remember there was a point in his career where everyone hated Jude Law, and there was always that joke that went around like, what's the most ridiculous law in England? Jude Law! And everyone hated him. And now everyone loves him again, and he is so good. So yeah, I don't mind that, and I think he'll do a good job.
Moving on, public service announcement. Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer is up.
This looks good. This looks good.
Oh, I can't wait now.
I'm excited for the Wasp. She's so cool. I love the little things in the trailer, like when Ant-Man is getting all moody because she's got wings, and and then Michael Douglas's character is like, yeah, you could have had wings, but no.
But no, you're not having wings.
It's a great trailer, though. It's a lovely example of a trailer that doesn't give much away in terms of the story and the plot and stuff, but just shows loads of fun stuff that makes you want to see the movie. So it's a really cool little trailer. Yeah,
I still don't know who the baddie is for that.
Yeah, it doesn't
series.
matter. It doesn't matter.
But yeah,
I mean, it was what's his face? There was like the yellow jacket in the first film, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if Lawrence Fishburne is the next one. I saw him briefly in a trailer.
Oh yeah,
but...
that's right. Yeah, he was in. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, we've seen the trailer. It looks super fun. I'm totally in for it. Yes.
Anyway, again, link in the description below. If you haven't seen it yet, if you're somehow living on the very cozy rock, go watch it. Or maybe you just don't like Marvel movies and I'm just assuming too much, and then that's fine. Don't go watch it. Okay, now the news I'm sort of super hyped for. So Sam Raimi is planning to direct the Kingkiller Chronicles film.
Yes.
Okay, so Kingkiller Chronicle is a series by Patrick Rothfuss. He currently has 2 books out, and this was one of the series way back then when me and Monica were talking about it on this show. She was complaining that he's sort of George R. R. Martin style writer, that he's been promising a 3rd book for ages, and he's not still written it. But the books are really, really, really good.
What are they about? I've never heard of them before.
Here's the thing. I don't know, because when she told me all the way back then, I was planning to read them, and she told me all the way back then that he's written 2 books, and the 3rd book hasn't been coming for ages. I went, oh well, I'm gonna wait until the 3rd book out, because I can't do another George R. R. Martin thing and wait. Yeah. However, I'm also gonna tell you that this is the wrong approach. I think people should start reading books in the series, even if the series is not finished, because maybe not in the case of Patrick Rothfuss, who's a pretty big writer, but in the case of the small writers, if the initial books don't get enough sales, there won't be a sequel.
Yeah.
Here's a spoiler. So, I do think what I said last time was not the correct approach, and I'm gonna try to read them, but hence I have not been accustomed to them. All I know is that they're fantastic. Patrick Rothfuss is one of the bigger fantasy writers today.
Oh, so it's like a fantasy thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is that apparently there's a lot of music. So I think one of the characters in the books is a bard. So Lin-Manuel Miranda is attached to this project as well. That's cool. Hamilton fame and Moana fame and all like that. The guy who writes amazing music, basically.
Now there's a creative partnership I never knew I needed. Sam Raimi and Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah, I'm on board with this.
Yeah, so I'm super interested. And Lindsay Beer is writing the script, as one of the last names to throw out there. But yeah, if this ever comes to pass, I think it's going to be fantastic. And as soon as I get some time, I better jump on that ship and read and find out what the whole fuss is about.
Does sound pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I love Sam Raimi as a filmmaker. He's done some amazing stuff over the years. And yes, this will be a good, I think, if it's like a pretty deep fantasy novel with lots of kind of like with Lin-Manuel Miranda involved, I feel like that could suit Sam Raimi's style pretty well. So yeah, this could be really cool.
Okay, moving on. Red Redemption 2 coming to Xbox One and PS4 on October 26, 2018, which is delayed from the promised spring release.
Yes, spring. Whoever believed we would actually get it in spring? I mean, come on. This is least surprising news ever.
Are you psyched for it though?
I saw Jason Schreier tweeted, that sound you hear is all the other AAA developers with release dates in October crying out in unison. Like, because that'll be it when this is out. All other games will become secondary. Like, this will just smash it. So I'm really, really excited for it. It looks amazing. The first Red Dead Redemption is brilliant. This is going to be cool.
Oh man, I'm so between. I haven't played Red Dead Redemption. I know, kill me now.
Should. It's just, if you ever wanted to be in a Western, there you go. That's what it is.
Well, here's the thing. I don't really care that much for Westerns. That's one of the things that's stopping me from playing this.
Oh, I love a good Western. They're brilliant. And just there was the thing with Red Dead was it had such a great revenge storyline, and it was just so fun to play, and it looked amazing for the time. And it just felt really good. Like when you were just riding around on your horse in the wild, just doing what you wanted to do, it just felt brilliant. You felt like Clint Eastwood in The Man with No Name, just riding around. It was so cool. And I'm super excited for this because I'm really psyched mostly to see what they do with the multiplayer, because if there's a potential for it to be your own version of like an outlaw in the Wild West, like I want to be like a lady gunslinger just riding around in the Wild West. That's just awesome. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for this. I mean, it's Rockstar. It'll smash records. It'll sell bucket loads. Hopefully it'll be really, really good. Exciting times.
Yeah, well, I need to make up my mind when and if I have some time.
It's an enormous game. It is enormous. So just play a bit of it, maybe.
I know.
Or just wait. Just wait till October. It's fine. You don't need to have played the first one, really.
But I kind of feel like I would be missing out, though.
Well, maybe, well, then give it a try. You can pick it up really cheap now, obviously, because it's a few years old. But
it's just the thing, I have 2 other gigantic games on my list that I do really want to try. I really want to try Divinity Original Sin 2.
That's meant to be amazing. It is meant to be really, really good.
And here's the thing, I know it's a huge-ass RPG thing that I want to dedicate good of my time to in focus. So I'm not buying it right now because I literally
Yeah.
barely have time to play Overwatch and watch stuff.
Yeah.
Mainly so I can talk about them on the show. And then the other one, I really do finally want to push myself and finish Witcher.
Oh,
And that's another one that can basically take the whole 3 months of my life.
See, I love The Witcher 3. I did everything in that game. I put a stupid amount of hours into that game and finished it, but I haven't finished the DLC yet, and I have them both, and I'm just like, so I still have it installed on my PlayStation, and one day I will actually play the DLC. But they're enormous on their own. They're like 10 hours each, so God, why do we have to be grown-ups and have jobs and stuff?
I don't know, but do you see my very first world problem?
Yeah, exactly. I have no time to play my games.
No.
Yeah, I have literally too much to play. Like, I have games sat on my shelf that have been sat there for years that I have not had time to play. So, oh my God, my life.
I'm sorry, starving people around the world.
That
This
sounds
is what
so
we
bad,
complain
doesn't it?
about on this show.
Yeah. Oh, our problems. Oh, they're so terrible.
I know,
All these
poor
amazing
us.
games. Oh.
Someone feel sorry for us, please.
Brilliant.
We can't play video games. The second one that you can tell me more about. Secret Cinema Blade
Yes.
Runner website crushes under overwhelming demand.
Yes, so Secret Cinema is a thing. They've been running for like 10 years, and they announced pretty recently that the next one they're doing this year is Blade Runner.
Explain to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it secret if anyone knows and can buy tickets to it?
So it used to be a secret in that it was like cinema events where you'd buy a ticket and you didn't know what it was going to be, and they would put on like a big show and stuff. But over the years, it's kind of become more that you know what the film is, and so it's like a big event. So they build like a whole setting for it, and everyone gets assigned characters and people dress up. So they did a big one, I think it was last year or the year before, for The Empire Strikes Back, and everyone dressed up as rebels, like they all had their different rebel characters, and there were loads of actors and things dressed up as stormtroopers and stuff, and it was like an enormous set, and you felt like you were in the movie. Apparently I didn't go, I've never actually been to one before. It was like being in the film, and you watch the film in this incredible setting, and there were actors acting out bits from the film alongside, and it's just like this enormous immersive cinema experience kind of thing. Yeah, so they announced they were doing Blade Runner, and of course everyone's just lost their minds because they're like, oh my God, Blade Runner, it's amazing. I've been really lucky and I've managed to get tickets. I was super quick. Like, I had the website open for about 3 hours before the tickets went live, and I was just there ready. I was like, right, come on. And they had like a little countdown on the screen, and I was like, I'm ready. And so I knew what date I was going for and what type of tickets I needed and how many. So I just went in. It's exceedingly expensive, and my bank account wants to cry right now. But I was like, it's Blade Runner, it's worth it. And I'm going around my birthday time, so I was like, it's my birthday thing, it's Blade Runner, it's totally worth it. So I can't buy anything now for the next 6 months. But anyway, but yeah, there was such an overwhelming demand for tickets, which was not unexpected, that the website just completely melted. It went down about 2 minutes after I managed to get mine. I was really, really lucky. Yeah, it just went insane. They had to postpone the release, so they put out a statement saying, right, we're suspending sales until we sort out this problem. We're going to re-release the tickets soon. And they've gone live again now, but apparently the website is still really creaky because there's just so many people trying to buy tickets. There's a few ways to look at it. Like, I'm really excited about it, but also it was bloody expensive, and the way they advertise the prices is potentially a little bit shady. It's kind of like theatre pricing. So on the front page, it's got like the prices for the different levels of tickets, and it will say from £59, right? But then if you so you think that's expensive already. But then if you pick a weekend, the cost shoots up, which they don't tell you about until you're already in there buying the tickets. So because I've had to get tickets for the weekend because I work during the week and it would have been difficult for my party basically to all get time off, so we're going on a Saturday, they ramped up to £89 each. Okay, so it's an extortionate amount of money, but it's like it's a once in a lifetime type thing. So I've kind of rationalized it like that, like, you know, yeah, it's for my birthday, it's a once in a lifetime thing, it's fine. But it's a lot of money, like it is crazy money. And yeah, but hopefully it'll be really cool. So I shall report back in May.
Are you dressing up for this?
Oh, yeah, I'll do the whole thing. Yeah,
Who are you dressing up as?
Well, we don't know yet. What they do is they send you an email nearer the time with your character and suggestions for how to build your costume.
Oh.
So it won't be anything super complicated. Like, looking at past years, they've never asked people to kind of go to extreme lengths of cosplay, you know, it's kind of pretty simple costuming. So I can imagine for Blade Runner it'll be like trench coats and, you know, basically you need to just look like you live in LA in 2049 or, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm super excited. I'm really intrigued as to how they're going to build the world. Like, I can just imagine they're going to build like this downtown LA type set with all the neon and the noodle bars, and it's just going to look really cool. It's exciting, but also very expensive, and now I cannot even buy food.
Not to be fair, because I don't like that either, but whenever I previously bought theater tickets, they all start from blah, 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 blah. And then you realize that from where they start is like the crappiest sit in the corner of the theater, and you can barely get those tickets anyway, and they're always way more exuberantly priced than you ever imagined. So it's not like it's a new kind of practice, but it's not appreciated nonetheless.
When it happened, I was like, whoa, that's a price jump. But then I immediately thought, well, yeah, okay, it's like, it's an event pricing structure. It's kind of, you know, that's fine. I'm just going to go for it. I really want to go. But a lot of people were complaining about it because I think they're looking at it like a cinema ticket, and it's not. It's an event. It's like going to the theatre and you're just watching a film, but you're in the film kind of thing. So, yeah, so I'm kind of like, I can see why people are a bit miffed that they haven't been slightly more transparent with the pricing levels depending on whether it's a weekday or a weekend. But if you've ever been to the theatre, you know that as soon as you click through and you actually go into seat selection, the prices change from what's advertised on the front page. So that's kind of how you have to look at it. It's event pricing, it's not cinema pricing.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited. I mean, it's Blade Runner. It's one of my all-time favourite films. I just think it's going to just be an exceptional experience.
Which cut is it?
The final cut.
Okay.
Showing the final cut, which I would, that's fine. I think the director's cut is probably the better cut, but that's debatable depending on what mood I'm in that day. But I think that's cool. Loads of people will love that. I mean, there's actually like 7 different Blade Runner cuts, but final cut works perfectly well. It'll be really good. God, can you imagine if they're going to have someone there with like an owl and like, oh my God, it's going to be so good. I'm so excited. But yeah, so that's the thing. The website should hopefully be working a little bit better now, although by the time this airs it might all be bloody sold out, who knows.
Anyway, here's Blade Runner. Good luck getting tickets in the secret cinema.
Yeah. There are still tickets available, so at the time of recording, there are still tickets, but who knows how long that will last.
Speaking of cinema, that maybe you should not go watch, if you can find it, even. I watched, moving into our topics, so I'm going to talk about a little film that I watched actually only yesterday, and I reviewed for BigRedBarel, so you can read a more detailed review on there, and I'll leave the link in the description below. But I watched American Satan.
I've not even heard of this.
It's sort of a weird quasi-indie movie, and I was telling that to someone yesterday. I think if you don't closely follow the culture of rock and metal, you won't know this movie is out, because a lot of the appeal is because 2 of the sort of modern rock star boys, or whatever they are in this movie, and so the fans of their bands would know about it, and the fans of that style of genre would know that this movie exists. And it's also directed by someone who does own indie metal record labels, so it's all in that kind of vein. But basically it follows the rise to fame of the half American, half British band The Relentless. It would be as you would expect. There's music, there's sex, there's drugs, blah blah blah. But then something weird happens, because the Satan comes to town.
Of course, as he does. Just having a visit.
And the Satan apparently was responsible for the whole metal scene ever, and the rise of all rock legends that have ever came to town. It's responsible for Apple. It's responsible for Jay-Z's most popular song, and so on. So, Satan was working hard, man.
Yeah.
And for some reason he takes interest in this band and tells them, you do stuff for me, I'll make you famous and rich, and so on. And as you can imagine, it sort of goes badly afterwards.
Yeah.
The selling point of this movie is that John Bradley of Game of Thrones fame, Samuel Tarly, is in it.
Oh.
He's playing the band manager, Ricky. Funny thing is that he's playing pretty much Saul Tarly, but without seasons of character development.
Oh.
He's the same kind of like awkward, out of place sort of man that you're like, okay, what else are you showing? But the movie is just, it's not great. I mean, I laughed out loud so many times. And the thing that I sort of like and don't like at the same time is that it starts like just as a normal, there's plenty of movies about the rock stars rising to fame. And it starts so much like it. You don't think there's going to be a supernatural element that comes into it. So when you kind of realize, hey, that guy played by Malcolm McDowell, you're like, oh, he's a Satan? Okay, are we for real? Oh, right, we are for real. Hang on. And so from then on, it becomes really weird, but it sort of tries to address this deep topics, I guess, in a way. It touches briefly on kind of this teens that under the banner of the band and their music justify doing this not so, like, they're all kind of teens that were abused and bullied in school, and they sort of lash out against their abusers. And it raises all these topics, but it doesn't really go anywhere, especially since, like, this is Satan who invented Apple.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, there's some things that they try to make us take seriously that you can't, because they just went a little bit overboard with it. Anyway, so they try to touch on this super... Well, not super, but sort of an interesting perspective and interesting topics, like what if you have this figure within the religion and you kind of sort of relay all the blame onto him rather than say, oh, it's my fault and take responsibility for that. But then because of how it's set up and how it sort of makes it more than it actually is, it doesn't make any sense. And it was especially disappointing to me the way it finished. It's sort of the credits roll and they have all these quotes for famous rock stars like Ozzy Osbourne, and they all imply, all the quotes imply that there is some supernatural force behind their talent, that they go, oh, when I go on stage someone takes over, blah 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 blah. Whatever your original message was, that on its own is a little bit distractive. Are you saying that it's not enough to be talented? I know in many cases it isn't, the world isn't fair. But then are you saying that the super famous people who were extraordinary, that they didn't make it because they had talent? How much value are you putting in the creativity of this all? And to me, that's a bit upsetting.
It sounds like a pretty sort of obvious idea, stretched a bit thin. Like, just kind of, they've not really thought that through.
I know, and especially because, again, it's a movie about metal rock bands, so they want to show all the drugs, they want to put all the tits on the screen,
God.
And
it's just stereotypes.
Yeah, and because it's about Satan, there's so many, like, it spends a bunch of time of the guys going to like a Satan decorated strip club and fucking the girls that are there. Like, okay, I get it what you're trying to show, but there's so many other interesting points to focus on. I can't believe that's the one you choose.
I much prefer, like, as well, a depiction of Satan that doesn't just stick to stereotypes like that. Because in reality, if Satan existed, he wouldn't be anything like that. It would be so much more insidious, and he wouldn't be just straight up, yeah, I'm an evil dude, I like shagging women and rock music and all that stuff. I don't buy it.
I mean, this is a very Russian response to me, but have you ever heard of Master and Margarita?
No.
It's a book written by one of the greatest Russian novelists, Bulgakov, and it is about Satan coming to Moscow. And he's got this minions, and the minions start raining all hell loose in Moscow, but like in a humorous way. And it's very much about Soviet Russia, so it kind of colors by it, and I don't know how approachable it is to someone who's not been born in that environment, who doesn't know this little weird funny thing about Soviet Russia. The Satan there is not overtly sort of evil guy, or it's not obvious who he is, and he's not trying to be this evil man with all the ladies. He's got much more character, and he goes and talks to people and asks questions, and he's sort of this figure that doesn't sound human. He sort of surpasses humanity in a certain way he is, because he is surpassed, humanity. He's Satan.
Yeah.
To me, when I read it for the first time, that was the first representation of a being that was not human, that was evil, but not evil because not evil in our understanding of evil.
Yes.
But sort of in a supernatural transgressing beyond what we clarify as evil. And to me, that is just so much. It's a fantastic book if anyone can read it or attempt to understand it. I'm sure a lot of things will just go over people's heads because it's a very, you have to understand the time to kind of get the cool of the book. But for example, the Satan has the cat who's called Hippopotamus. And the cat is the most hilarious thing out there. It's just brilliant. I'm sure there is some movies about this book as well that I don't know how it is easy for people to find. But yeah, anyway, that Satan, this American Satan, there is not a Satan. It's just not a great movie. But yeah, check out my review. I thought my review was funny, so maybe that will cheer you up. Okay, Joe.
Right. Yes.
Hopefully you watched a much better movie.
Yes, Mother! So this is the most recent film by Darren Aronofsky. That I really wanted to see this at the cinema, but never really had the opportunity. So it's his follow-up from obviously director of Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, Noah. You know, he's known for very sort of esoteric and interesting films that don't really behave in a way that a lot of people enjoy or like. So basically, loosely, the story is that Jennifer Lawrence plays a young woman who lives with her husband, Javier Bardem, in a very isolated but beautiful rural kind of country house. And their tranquility is kind of disrupted by a mysterious couple that arrive, and the film kind of cartwheels into madness from there. So really, Mother is a whole bunch of different things. It's a religious biblical allegory. It's an environmental cautionary tale. It's like a meditation on the patriarchy and feminism. And it's a representation of a whole bunch of ideas rather than an actual film with like a linear plot that's kind of happening, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So for me, I loved it. I mean, I love Aronofsky's work. I think he's just one of the most interesting directors that are working because he approaches cinema as a means of representation and kind of a way of visualizing ideas that aren't necessarily easy to visualize. It's all about allegory and stuff like that, and I just think that's fascinating. And this film I think it's exceptional in a lot of different ways. It's extremely difficult to watch in places. Like this film, there's some people that just won't be able to watch this all the way through. They'll just find some of it just too difficult to deal with. There's some really, really quite distressing scenes of violence, and it can be quite unsettling. And that's what I think that I loved it about it the most. Not necessarily like the violence and stuff, because it is very upsetting, but just that as a film, it worked so well at eliciting a feeling from you. It made you feel things, which so many films don't. You can just sit there and they'll just wash over you and they don't really ever make you feel anything. Whereas this film definitely makes you feel a whole host of different things. It's very distressing, unsettling, but also quite inspiring, and it makes you think a lot about things. And Jennifer Lawrence is wonderful in it. She is so present in all of the film. Like, I would say that every shot in the film is either her point of view, it's shot over her shoulder, or she's in a long shot, basically. So she is present in the entirety of the film. And so she's carrying it, and she does an incredible job. And she makes you believe it, and you really feel what's happening. Javier Bardem is great. I mean, he's such a fantastic actor, and he does a good job with this. A lot of people are not going to be on board with this film at all. It got user reviews and critic reviews are just absolutely leagues apart on this. Like, it got, I think, like an F grade from Cinema Score, which is like user reviews or something.
Well, Howard, we talked about it.
I know, and they all hated it, which I think, considering what happens in the film, doesn't really surprise me, because there's a lot of things that happen to Jennifer Lawrence in this film that a lot of people were going to really, really struggle with. But then the critics, almost universally, thought it was fantastic because they're looking at it from a different perspective and through a different view. And that's kind of how I look at it. Like, I'm not a critic by any means, you know, I'm just a random person who loves movies. But I kind of was looking at it in the way I feel that Aronofsky wants you to look at it, is that it's an allegory, it's a representation, it's trying to make you feel about things. So yeah, it's an exceptional piece of work. I think if you can stomach it and you're open to a film that isn't going to be easy to understand or follow, or that's not gonna make it easy for you to watch, then definitely give it a go. But yeah, if you're at all squeamish or sensitive about certain things, then maybe not so much.
Yeah, I have to confess, because you've tweeted that you watched and you really liked it
Yeah.
before we recorded. And I sort of queued up it to watch, because I thought, well, if I watch it, we can discuss it together on the show, and that'd be good. But I'll be honest with you, it's not... I watched Black Swan, I watched Requiem for a Dream, and I like them both. And while I like them and appreciate them, I did not enjoy my watching experience because, as you said, all those movies are very, very, very heavy. And Requiem for the Dream, I know for sure I'll never be able to watch that movie.
Oh, I watch it regularly. I think that movie is fantastic.
It is fantastic, but God, is it hard to watch. And
oh, yeah. Yeah. He doesn't make it easy for you, does he?
No. And sort of when I was staring at the cover for the movie, ready to click play, all those emotions and all those experience kind of overflew me, and I went, I'm not sure I want to do this to myself again. So I still haven't clicked. I still may, but for me, there is a hurdle to jump to. You have to be in a certain mood. You have to sort of prepare yourself and be open it in a way to approach it and to kind of digest it and take it in yourself.
Absolutely. And you kind of, if you're going to watch it, you owe it to the film to give it its full attention and to go into it with the proper frame of mind. There's moments in this film that made me kind of gasp in kind of like, oh my God, that's a lot, and I'm usually... Like, I've watched so many different extreme films and I'm usually not fussed. It's kind of... But this one just did what the best of them do so well, in that it made you feel it, which is... It's a difficult thing to explain and to quantify, but it really kind of made you feel the world and feel her experience. And... yeah, I mean, I like I say, I'm a big fan. Black Swan is one of my favourite films of all time. I just think it's absolutely stunning from beginning to end. And this isn't on that same level. Like, Black Swan is like the pinnacle of his career for me at the moment. But this is still another great film from him. He's not made a bad film yet, in my opinion. And yeah, if you're an Aronofsky fan and you're kind of open to something that's going to challenge you, then yeah, you should watch it.
So moving on from something heavy to something very light and something very popish, I think, in a way. But I think we talked about Star Trek Discovery a couple of episodes back, where both me and Joe gave it a try and went, nope.
And you've gone back.
I've gone back because the Twitter went full with, oh my God, Star Trek Discovery was so good this week. And plus, come on, I've got a massive incentive. The most perfect man in the universe is in that show. So I kind of had to give it another try. And I did. The thing is, a lot of it worked for me. I made myself watch it. I had Jason Isaac's incentive. I had the encouragement from other people that it will be good to sit through the things that I did not like. So a lot of things pushed me through a lot of Star Trek Discovery, I'll be honest. And by the way, before I say it, I'm absolutely no Trekkie. I've never watched before. I maybe watched like half an episode of Star Trek before. This is all new to me. I'll probably
Have you seen the movies?
I have seen the movies, but I don't know. How canon are we considering them?
I have no idea. I don't know. I like Star Trek, and I've watched like the New Generation. Was it Next Generation? Oh God, I'm gonna get the wrath of the Trekkies because I don't remember. TNG, Star Trek TNG with Jean-Luc Picard. I watched that, and that was great. I haven't really watched much more. I know that a friend of the show, Martin, is a big Trek fan, so I'm sure he'll correct us on anything we say wrong. But no, I found this just terminally dull, which is why I gave up on it, and I haven't really felt the incentive to go back. I mean, people have been like talking up the twists and the drama, like, oh my God, it's like Game of Thrones, but Star Trek, and I'm like, get a grip. Get a grip. I'm not sure I believe that. And my fella's watched it all the way through, and even he's like, yes, all right. It's good, but it's not that kind of level.
I mean, it doesn't make it easy for you to watch, because the first 2 episodes, which are basically the opening for the whole season, you start with like exposition central, and you're like, why are you? Surely you two knew why you're going on the mission. It's so obvious that what you're saying is for us, for the viewer. You're not hide it a little better, write it a little better, and then you get this back and forth between Klingons, who, I'm sorry, I don't love the look. I know it's maybe iconic the way they look, and they can't change it very much now, but I don't like how they look most of the time. It just doesn't, it looks a bit puppeteerish to me in a way. And I know there are people in complicated prosthetics and costumes and all that kind of stuff, but I've tried my best to buy it throughout the whole series, and I failed. Still,
they do look like a bit of Play-Doh that's kind of been smushed kind of into a weird shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you get the Exposition Central, and then you get a bunch of stuff in Klingon, and if you don't buy in Klingon, that's kind of hard for you to get into. And then kind of the whole thing that you thought you were watching changes, which is actually, I think, a good thing. That's what made me think, oh, right, interesting. And then you go into the main Star Trek series, and it sort of goes ups and downs. There are episodes that really hooked me, and I clicked next straight away, and there are episodes where I went, what on earth? And obviously Jason Isaacs is glorious in all his shapes and forms.
Yes.
And there was, when everyone was screaming plot twists, I don't know, is it safe to say they go into the mirror universe? I think every Star Trek goes into the mirror universe, right?
No, I don't even know what it is.
It's like the parallel universe with the same kind of people, but they're slightly different.
Do you ever, I mean, maybe this is an enormous spoiler, but do you ever find out why the hell she's called Michael?
No, I don't think so. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. But that doesn't really bother me. She's called Michael. She's a bit quirky. It's fine. It's just indicative of what kind of bothered me with it a little bit. Is that it was obviously, trying to do some new things, which is great, but then it would do something like that, like name a lead character Michael, which is fine and totally cool, but it felt like they were just doing it to be like, yeah, we've called her Michael, so what? What of it? Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, fine, but why? And it would have, I like my characters to kind of be a whole thing, in that everything about them speaks to who they are as a character. So you could have had a really interesting part in her story as to why she's called Michael. Maybe it wasn't her given name. Maybe she took that name for some reason. Maybe there's still more to come. They haven't really,
maybe.
They have space to explore that out there. So that probably that's why it doesn't bother me that much, because I feel like there's more story there to her being adopted by Spock parents and stuff like that. But yeah, the one
Spock parents.
It's true.
They're Vulcans, aren't they?
Yeah, they're Vulcans. Yeah,
I just love that you call them Spock parents.
Well, I don't know what else am I calling them,
because he's just one Vulcan, Spock, and they're like.
Yeah,
that's it. All the Vulcans I'm just going to call Spock parents now. I love it. It's brilliant.
But she was adopted by his parents.
What, actually Spock's parents?
Yes.
Oh, not just random Vulcans.
No.
Oh. I thought you were just talking about some random Vulcans, not like Spock's actual parents.
No.
Brilliant. Love it. Carry on.
Oh god. Yeah, so there was a lot of plot twist there that sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, they were facepalm worthy. There were some really good ones, to be fair. There was one that did make me go, oh shit! That there was sort of signposted. If you look back on it, they were building up to that moment. But there were also others where like, well, yeah, alright, of course this character comes back. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it. I'm watching it as it comes out on Monday. I really like it. The last episode, I'm not going to talk about it, but it really upset me. People that watched it will understand why it upset me, but I'm hoping that there will be an upside to this development in the story. I'm enjoying it for what it is. I think you can't look at critically. I think people who are saying it's like Game of Thrones in space are doing a disservice. It's even in the face of a recent Game of Thrones season.
Yeah.
It's something light. It's something that, will be moments where you go, oh god. There'll be moments go, oh, that's cool. There'll be some interesting plot twists. There'll be some plot holes major. There'll be exposition central. It is pulpy. It is pulpy in the pure, good, nice sense of the pulp. And I like it for what it is. I'm glad I stuck out for it. As I said, I did have a lot of help to push me through it, because the first time I went, well, I'm falling asleep here, so I'm not interested. But I quite enjoyed it, actually.
Good, I'm glad. I'm not going to go back to it. I can't be bothered. I've got too much else to watch and do and things like that. And as I was never a huge Trek fan to begin with, no, not going back.
Okay, so moving on to another Netflix show that's just came
Yes,
out, and we've
yes.
seen like 1 and a bit episodes.
Yeah,
Both of us,
yeah. So
incidentally.
I'll only talk about this kind of briefly. So this is Altered Carbon, which is like the new big hyped Netflix show. It has Joel Kinnaman in it, who some people will remember from the god-awful RoboCop remake, which just, honestly, we need to just forget that film exists.
Is he the guy who is like Alexander Skarsgård, but less Alexander Skarsgård?
Yeah, he's like the American Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah.
but less good.
Yeah.
So he was in House of Cards as well, which actually he was pretty good in House of Cards. And he's been in a few other things, like he was in the American version of The Killing, which was good.
Haven't watched it.
But yeah, anyway, this is it's a dystopian future sci-fi type thing, where it's like 300 years in the future, and the physical body is no longer a constant. So instead, you have like your consciousness in this little metallic disc thing called a stack, which sticks in the back of your neck. And what you can do is you can, the physical body is called a sleeve, and you can have a different sleeve, so you can put your stack into a different body, essentially. Mm-hmm. And Joel Kinnaman plays this dude called Takeshi Kovacs, who was like a freedom fighter type mercenary dude. And for reasons that we don't know yet, because we've only watched like one episode, he is killed. He wakes up 250 years later. He's spent all that time in prison, and he's essentially been re-sleeved by James Purefoy, who's he's like the wealthiest man in the world, who wants him to solve his murder. So yeah, so there's all kind of twisty-turny things going on. He has this murder to solve. I have a question. Yes.
Why, as of late, there's so many different things with the wealthiest people in the world? Like, there always has to be one rich guy to help out our main characters to do their job.
It's just a zeitgeist thing, isn't it, at the moment? I think a lot of people at the moment are like a bit obsessed with the 1% of the 1% and kind of the story, because American capitalism in particular is so wrecked right now. The whole concept is just ripe for dystopian fiction, and that's kind of, I feel like, the strongest parts of Altered Carbon are where it's kind of commenting on capitalism and how in the future it's just become this horrible nightmarish dystopia of wealth disparity, even more so than we have today, because you have like the super wealthy people who can have whatever sleeve they want, and they can essentially live forever, like they have immortality because they have constant backups of themselves, like James Purefoy and his missus have like clones of themselves, and so they always have a body to go into. But then the poor are kind of stuck with whatever sleeve they get given. So there's one like supplementary character early on who is a 7-year-old girl who dies in a car crash, and she's put in the sleeve of a really weird damaged old lady because that's all that was available.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the show is at its strongest when it's talking about things like that, and I hope it does more of that. I feel it's extremely derivative, like, but it's hard not to be when you're doing a sci-fi show like this. I mean, immediately you're going to think of Blade Runner and The Matrix and other things like that.
I mean, all the shots of the city and stuff like that. Every time I saw them, I'm like, Blade Runner, just have flashbacks to Blade Runner.
It is, and that's... I feel like it's difficult for any show to kind of get around that, but some things do, and so it is super, super derivative. But hopefully that there are little glimmers of things that are interesting. I worry that it's very grim in that there's not much room for anything kind of positive or optimistic, and all the characters so far are pretty unpleasant people.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the sarcastic nature of the main character. I think he's a little bit unusual in that time. He's just an a-hole. He doesn't really care, and he's just looking at everyone just with their kind of one eyebrow raised and going, whatever.
I'm hoping that as the season develops, we're going to learn more about his character, and so he becomes a bit more, like, less one-dimensional, because at the moment he's just like this grumpy mercenary dude.
Well, he lost his great love, didn't he? So I guess that's his humanizing element if we're looking for one.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best one, but there is one.
It's a bit, again, derivative, middle of the road type sort of character stuff. But I feel like there is a bit of potential here. Like, it hasn't grabbed me immediately with the pilot. Like, it's not a super strong pilot. It sets up its world and it sets up its characters and its themes and story, and that's cool. and there is space for it to grow. I worry that it's going to get a bit over complicated in itself. I feel like there's going to be a lot of stuff thrown at it that all kind of conflicts, and I feel like they may be biting off more than they can chew for just one season. We'll see how it kind of develops. I'll watch the rest because it is visually interesting, and I do like Joel Kinnaman as an actor, and James Purefoy, he's brilliant. So
if Jason Isaacs is the most perfect man in the universe for me, James Purefoy is almost most perfect man.
There in the pilot there is certainly a scene where we do
second episode.
Is it the second episode?
Second episode, yeah.
Is it? Oh, I forget.
Oh, yeah.
Where we do get to judge James Purefoy in all his glory. So you can enjoy that.
And yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Hey, it's equal nudity, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
You show boobs, you show me some pee-pee.
Yeah. But I've kind of rambled on. What did you think of it?
I'm enjoying it so far. I do agree with you. There's some things that are a bit too on the nose, and, you can't avoid the comparisons. I have some questions about it. I do have to say, I kind of like the detective girl a little bit. I don't know where that's going with her.
Yeah.
But I really like her. I think... I like her in Perceptionals. I'm not entirely sure where the story is going for it, but I like that I like her little... She's likable. And I know I said like a lot, but she's likable, and part of it is her little accent and how she behaves. And she's kind of almost against stereotypical strong
she's
detective.
Tough lady cop. Yeah. Foreign tough lady cop.
Tiny lady, but apparently she's super tough. But, in the first scene with her and the main character, she, talks a lot, and that's... I don't know if that's part of her character now, or she was just trying to get truth out of him, and he totally doesn't buy it. But I do want to see more of her, bubbly side and her kind of rumbling around and chasing around. And I don't know. To me, it's kind of obvious that they're setting them up for, great love at some point in the series, but maybe I'm wrong.
That would be a bit lazy, wouldn't it? I hope they did it.
Yeah.
One thing that's just reminded me of it, one thing that does bother me slightly about it, is that all the women seem to be, enjoy dressing it, wearing as little as possible. That kind of annoys me, because I feel like, well...
Here's the thing. That's the thing that... It's not entirely justifies me, but there's an idea that occurred to me, and it happens, with the James Purefoy's wife, boobs all the way exposed, with him walking around with his willy out. It's more that, they're not their bodies anymore. There's the whole perception.
True,
I think there's a barrier that you have to get it, because we still think of our bodies as important, and in the way, temples to preserve and look after, and we have only one. Their bodies is pretty much closed. There are people cloning them every other round. They've seen everybody's everything. What does it matter to them?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it like that. It's very interesting that really they're kind of... Their perception of the physical body is very much a thing that can be discarded now, and it's not like the sacred thing we think of it ourselves. So that is interesting. Hopefully the show will explore that a little bit more, because that would certainly make it more interesting.
I do hope they make the point of some kind somewhere on that.
Yeah.
To kind of drive that point more in, because that's what I'm reading from it from now on, but I reserve a right to change my mind. Unless I see more willies.
More I don't mind not seeing any more willies. That's fine. If they want to hang them out, then great. But it's not what I'm watching the show for. It's all right. It's just an added bonus.
I'm not gonna make the joke I was gonna make, but yeah. Oh, another thing that I kind of like, the whole Poe Hotel. I don't know. Again, it's
the Raven Hotel.
Yeah, there's just some things that are too on the nose there. Yeah. Again, it's okay, so there's a Raven Hotel with Poe,
Edgar Allan Poe as the guy. Yeah.
and they're AIs, right? That's what I'm understanding.
So he's I think he's an AI robot type thing, but it's not really been fully kind of explored yet, I don't think.
No, because I'm interested with how the sort of the whole transferring of the mind works with AI, because that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And also kind of it's just reminded me of one thing that did bother me, which is a really stupid little petty thing, but it's 300 years in the future, but people that smoke still smoke the same type of cigarettes that people smoke now. Would that really be a thing? Wouldn't they all be doing some weird vaping stuff?
Yeah,
Who knows? Who knows?
I don't know.
If you're listening to this 300 years in the future, then travel back and tell us.
But I don't know. So far, interesting enough for me to continue watching, really.
Yeah, I feel like it has potential that I worry is not going to be fully taken advantage of, but it is interesting enough for me to watch the rest. Yeah.
I mean, look, the fact that it's a series has a potential that they can go for as long as they want and explore as many things as they want. They have all time in the world. They're not restricted to 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes time period. And if they're lacking in one way, they can spend an episode kind of rectifying that.
Yes,
so
yeah.
I'm willing to give them that.
Definitely.
And the last one, and I know we're running a little bit late, but I thought it's just the two of us, so at least I'll make it slightly longer episode to apologize. But I very briefly, I watched the Assassin's Creed movie.
Well done. Yeah, I saw this at the cinema. Yeah. Wow. It was all right. I mean,
God.
It's a bit of actually, I remember watching this feeling, God, this is a missed opportunity.
It was.
And I really like Fassbender. Michael Fassbender is great.
But you know what? There's... For those people who love Assassin's Creed and for some reason has not watched this movie yet, or are thinking of watching it, first of all, you know all those bits in the future that we hate and all the bits in the past that we like? Well, there's like 3 scenes in the past. I'm going to tell you it outright, because if that's what you're going to see in the movie, you're going to see the ancient Andalusia, you're not going to get much of it. There is one scene that I really loved and that showed me what this movie could have been. There's this whole chase scene where Fassbender and his girlfriend... You see, I don't even know her name because she wasn't that really important because we only had like a scene with her before that. They're sort of running across the rooms and doing all the cool things that you wanted to do in the games, but you couldn't because your character would start randomly scaling up the wrong wall.
Yeah.
And they're doing all this parkour stuff. And to me, it almost felt a shame. I'm really pissed off on the behalf of the stunt trainer who had to do person who had to do all these tricks and probably didn't get any kind of sort of credit for that because there was Fassbender's face on the character. And to me, there was no reason why this assassin in the past had to be Fassbender. He does very little acting. He does mostly just jumping and parkour up the ancient buildings.
Well, he was his descendant or ascendant, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They don't have to have the same face. You could have the Fassbender doing all the stuff and all the supposed acting he's done in the future.
But he's the star. It needs to be him.
Whatever. And in the past, it could have been this amazing stunt guy who did all these amazing things. Just jumping and fighting and doing more jumping and doing twisting in the air. Could have been him. There wasn't much acting in the past that relied on someone of Michael Fassbender's caliber to carry it on. But all this amazing stunts that he probably didn't do, but it's his face on it for some reason, give the credit to the stuntman on the behalf of the stuntman that offended.
Yeah, I kind of like my feelings on Assassin's Creed was when I saw it in cinema, I remember thinking halfway through it like, God damn it, why have they done it like this? Like, there's so much potential there in terms of the old stuff, like the historical stuff is brilliant because that's the best bits of Assassin's Creed. But there was so much of I think what they were hoping was that it could become a series or something. Yeah. But it was all the stuff that, like the Desmond Miles stuff that nobody ever enjoyed. And that was the movie. And I was like, come on, please. I mean, there are things to enjoy in it. It's not a complete disaster of a film.
Well,
but it's just a shame, really.
Yeah, I know. It's just it was a bit of a disappointment because I don't know. Marion Cotillard is a great actress. I did not care about her in this movie at all. Jeremy Irons, again, I love him to pieces. Don't give a flying hippopotamus. You know, Michael Fassbender. Yeah, he's okay. His character was kind of interesting, but sort of also underdeveloped because he had to focus on sort of the present and the past, and then he changes his mind immediately about being an assassin, or rather not being an assassin, and it's like because his mummy shows up or something like that, you know. So it's it was just a bit meh.
It's mediocre.
Assassin's Creed, and they've done this with Origins to an extent, you know, with releasing the mode where you can just explore the game for the historical. But they have been the games that got people interested in that part of a history, in that part of the era, and they should really celebrate that as a franchise. And they started doing that a little bit more. But before, no one cares, you know, we live in this, you know, this is what we want to do. We want to go into the Aminus and travel to the past times and explore the world as it was back then. That's what we're playing the game. We don't care about the present.
No, nobody cared about Desmond. Nobody cared.
Exactly. So they, as a franchise, just celebrate that aspect more about people being interested in history, about learning it, about exploring it. This is great. This is amazing. It's such a great opportunity. Just embrace it completely and utterly. And they didn't.
Yeah, no, it's like, I agree with you. There's like an enormous disconnect between what the people that made the film think that people enjoy the most about Assassin's Creed, and then what actual people that play the game enjoy the most about Assassin's Creed. So, yeah, it's a shame. And we're still waiting for that really good video game movie, aren't we then? I mean, hopefully Tomb Raider will be good, but we'll see.
Did you watch, what's it called? The Duncan Jones one.
Oh, Warcraft. Yeah, that was alright. Yeah, Warcraft was pretty decent, actually. Yeah, I did. I mean, I'm not very knowledgeable about Warcraft. I've never actually played it, but my fella, he's a Warcraft fan, and he thought it was pretty good. So I think that was okay. And also, I kind of like Prince of Persia, but I think that's mostly because Jake Gyllenhaal has his top off a lot in it.
Yeah. I know. I'm biased for that movie too, for exact same reasons. So, hard.
Jakey. So
there we go, guys. I think we better wrap up for this episode.
Considering there's only two of us, we bloody rambled on.
Thank you very much for listening to episode 123. We want to give shout outs to some lovely people. Joe.
Yes, so shout outs to Will Driver, Stingo, Bleezy, Diarmid, Gabriel Romo, and Richard Kirk.
Thank you very much. If you guys want to get in touch with us, you can do so on BigRedBarel.com. You can go on Facebook, facebook.com/BigRedBarel. Leave us a comment there. You can go on Twitter at BigRedBarel. If you writing to us, use hashtag Geek Speak. That helps us to find your tweets. You can also speak to us directly. I'm at DustedTulip_.
I'm at Pixel Ritual.
Join our Discord. It's been busy, actually. People are talking, people are playing. Everyone is going crazy about Monster Hunter. So go there, join Discord, chat, play. I know we have Facebook Gamer Nights group, but ever since Discord came in, that kind of went quiet because everyone just moved to Discord because it was
get
easier.
On Discord.
So I feel bad for advertising there because that one is quiet and Discord is very chatty. So if you have a choice, join the Discord instead, because that's just easier for everyone.
I would agree.
Every Tuesday, we have Tabletop Tuesday. It's our board game night in Loading Bar in Dalston, and we bring a new feature game to the bar. That game gets passed around during the night, and whoever has played it is entered in a free prize draw for a chance to win a copy of the game next week, which is why I said next week last time. We, on the, what's the date? I want to say the 6th?
Yeah.
On Tuesday, the 6th of February, our feature game is Pandemic: The Rising Tides. So it's a new version of Pandemic. Pandemic is one of the biggest classic, I guess you can say now, board games out there. It's a cooperative game about curing the disease. So Rising Tides is a cooperative game set in Netherlands about controlling the water level.
Oh, that's interesting.
So here's a twist for you. Yeah, so we're gonna have 2 copies of that going around. It looks really, really pretty. At some point, we also should have a review of that on BigRedBarel.com from Matt. What else is the haps that I'm forgetting?
No, I think that's it then.
Thank you very much for listening. For episode 123, I've been Butts.
I've been Joe.
And we bid you goodbye.
Bye.
Butts.
You and your ears are quite welcome
for the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
to BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, now for the voice so angelic it will mesmerize, tantalize, and energize even the most blocked of earholes. The star guest of this episode of the Geek Speak podcast, Joe's own Palico, the charming, charismatic, cute cat, Charlie. Take it away, boy. Get 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 away, boy.